Chapter 11. There came a reversal of winter, all in the passage of 2 or 3 days. The sun warmed and the winds quieted and turned spring balmy. During the first part of this, there were small floods fed by the melting snow. The ground couldn't absorb the water fast enough. The floor of Trial Valley turned into a thick brown ooze. Devola turned our livestock and the rooster out, flung open all the doors and windows, gave Imogene a rag and pail of soapy water, and they proceeded to scour everything in sight. Romy put on his boots and I put on Roy Luther's, and we went across the fields for a look at Trial Creek, swollen to the top of its banks, clouded dark brown with silt, belching dirt and stones, carrying blown branches along in its torrent. It had turned into an ugly, angered river. In the near distance, Sugar Boy and old Joshua were shedding their snow mantles. Their faces streamed with water. I wonder how Roy Luther had made out in all of this, but didn't speak my thought to Romy. Instead, I said, "This won't last. I've seen false springs before. They always spell trouble. Next week there'll probably come the biggest blizzard in all history." It was one of Romy's acquiescent days. He didn't even sigh when I said we shouldn't waste this time. He made the offer to go back to the house for our tools and the wagon, Mr. Connell's want list, and the Wildcrafter's book. In a sandy wooded district halfway up the side of old Joshua, we harvested a worthwhile batch of princess pine, a small creeping evergreen sometimes called ground holly, known by some as false wintergreen. Going back down the mountain, we passed close to Roy Luther's grave, but didn't leave our path to go and look at it. Romy whistled a tune and said he wished he could have put a picture of us, that it might give him a laugh some day if he did have, both of us with our hair wild and our clothes slung with mud, our boots so heavy with mud that we had to sit down and rid ourselves of it. I said, "Yes, I'd like to have a picture of the way we look today, too. Then when I get to be the big shot that I aim to be someday and other big shots come into my office, I'd show it to them." "Your office," said Romy, and laughed at this impossible dream. This was the day Miss Goldie Pease, Kaiser's sister, came sliding down the valley in her big, fine car, getting stuck in the slime and the ooze twice before reaching our front gate. She didn't resemble Kaiser. She was squatter, with blue waffled hair and long, humorless mouth. She stood on our topmost step and scraped mud from her shoes and said that at Kaiser's request she had come all the way from southern Georgia to remove Kaiser from the hospital and bring him home to do his convalescing. She said, "Where was Roy Luther?" "He's asleep," I said. She looked at me direct. "Asleep this time of day?" "He's sick." "What's the matter with him?" "We don't know. He had a bad fall last summer. He doesn't rest at night anymore, so I let him sleep all he can during the day. Was there something in particular you wanted to see him about?" Miss Goldie Pease looked for a chair to sit on, but there wasn't one. Devola had taken it inside. She regarded the fallen down portion of our house. "There's some work over at Kaiser's place needs to be done. I thought Roy Luther could do it. This place sure looks seedy. In fact, downright disgraceful. Does Kaiser know part of your roof is caved in?" "No, it just happened a few days ago." "It wouldn't differ to him if he did know, though. He doesn't own this place anymore." Miss Goldie Pease's eyes flew wide. "What do you mean he doesn't own this place anymore?" "I mean he doesn't own it anymore. He signed it over to us months ago. This house and 20 acres of land. We don't work for him anymore. If Kaiser's coming home, he must be well. How's his jaw? Can he walk?" A breeze made a futile attempt to ruffle the stiff blue hair. Into the thick, unlovely face beneath it there came a slow, stirring look. "His jaw's wired shut. He has a little trouble getting around." "What do you mean he signed this place over to you months ago? Roy Luther pay him for it?" "Not exactly, not in money. Kaiser was terrible sick. Maybe you don't know about that. But anyway, he was, and we went over and found him and saved his life. Then he signed a paper giving us this house and this land." "Kaiser's got a mighty short memory," said Goldie Pease. This house and this land don't belong to Kaiser. They belong to me. Clear over almost to where his barn sets. It all belongs to me. Let me see the paper he signed. I showed her the paper, and with a quick curled up lip she said it was worthless, that Roy Luther didn't have the sense to pound sand down a rat hole if he couldn't see how worthless it was. I want to see him, she said. Go wake him up and tell him to come out here. Him and me's got a few things to talk about. Again I told her that Roy Luther was asleep, and she looked at me and said, asleep. All right, but when he wakes up, tell him I'm over at Kaiser's house. Tell him I want to see him. Tell him Kaiser and me has a little understanding about what is whose around here, and it's come to Kaiser's mind that this house and this land and this money, it's been making belong to me, and I mean to have it all back in my possession before the next 48 hours has passed. She was mad and dead serious, and she wasn't lying about the paper being worthless. I believed her when she said that when you give property away, there's more to it than just signing a simple little paper agreement, that there are always legal details involved, that it has to be made a matter of public court records. Goldie Pease was not an educated woman, but like a lot of people of her timber, she was crafty. She wanted to look at the inside of the house, and I took her in and showed her through it, all but Roy Luther's room. When we passed its closed door, she just curled her lip. She said the place could be made livable, that she knew a couple down in Georgia who would just be tickled silly to live in it and farm her land and make money for her. She said that an end had come to Kaiser's treasoning her. The plight of the Luthers was none of her affair. She made that plain. We went back out on the porch, and I said, this trouble between you and Kaiser, well, you know it hasn't got anything to do with us. Come spring, Roy Luther will be well enough to farm again. This is good land. He can make money from it for you. No, said Goldie Pease, looking into the declining afternoon. I don't want any of my brother's leftovers. I don't trust them. I want to start fresh. You tell Roy Luther I said I want you to vacate. 2 weeks. That's what I'll give you to do it in. That's fair. It's the best I can do. 2 weeks. You tell Roy I said that. You tell him I want to see him. I followed her down the steps and out the gate to her car. You going to bring Kaiser home today? Goldie Pease got into her car and slammed the door. No, I've changed my mind about that. I don't care if he never gets home. Him and his Hooger deals. Hooger? I don't know what word that means. Hoojer. Hooger. I hope it's not something that... Ugh. At the last minute of this visit, she spotted Kaiser's car and demanded the keys to it. I had to go back into the house and get them for her. She only skidded once, going back down the valley. I watched her do it and then right the car and go on. Romy and Imodine and Devola, who had banished themselves during the visit, came around the corner of the house. Imodine said she had never seen anybody with blue hair before. With tender anxiety, Devola asked where we were going to vacate to. I don't know yet, I said, but just give me till tomorrow morning. I'll have to figure it out by then. Romy looked up at the sky, which on the northern rim was beginning to fill with whirling, it has an H, whirling, oh, W-H-O-R-L-I-N-G, whirling, light-colored clouds. Oh, so worried and agitated in his eyes, but trying to hide his dismay and unease. He said maybe the weather would reprieve us from having to do anything right away, and that the worst cold spell in the whole history of the state of North Carolina was moving down on us from the north, according to the radio. Some reprieve, I said. We'll probably all perish. That cussed Kaiser Pease. He knew all along that paper was worthless when he signed it. Why didn't I know it? Because I'm ignorant, that's why. This is what comes of being ignorant. Ignorance always loses. I should have known I couldn't best that greasy outlaw. I should have known I couldn't best that greasy outlaw. He's not a greasy outlaw, protested Devola. I think he's nice. He's got the prettiest house. He's a greasy crook outlaw, I said, and if you had the loyal to me and Roy Luther that you're supposed to have, you'd see that. Romy said why was I bawling, and I said I wasn't, but I was. It scared them seeing me weaken like that, and it scared me too, because I knew we were in a bad fix, probably one of the worst we had ever been in, and I didn't know what to do, and there wasn't anybody to ask. I started to take Roy Luther's shotgun and walk to town and find the hospital where Kaiser was and the room he was in and walk in and blow his head off. I went so far as to take the gun down from the rack on the wall and put on my coat and start out, but Romy came running after me. "You said yourself a gun never settled anything," he shouted. "But if you didn't mean it, go ahead. Let 'em lock you up for being crazy. I don't care. We'll get along all right without you. The county people will come and get us and take care of us. Go ahead. Go to town and find Kaiser and blow his hat off. He deserves it. I don't say he doesn't, but you just remember, if you do marry Carl Luther, I'll never believe another word you say." So then I had to go back inside with him and put the gun away and try to think of another way. All during that loneliest and bleakest night, I tried to think of a way out of our dilemma. Where to find another roof for our heads and how to manage the move from the only home we had ever known to without someone's discovering that Roy Luther was gone from us. The new landlord, if we could find one, was bound to ask where our father was, and if I said asleep, well, where do you hide a sleeping man during a trek from one place to another? If I said up in the mountains digging roots, they would sound crazy. That would sound crazy. A ghost scampering around the mountains digging roots in the dead of winter while his family waited for him to come down and arrange for a place for them to live. Crazy. Nobody wanted to rent a house to a ghost, least of all a crazy one. Anywhere there weren't any houses to rent, not around Trial Valley. I thought about a cave. Maybe we could live in a cave. The notion of all of us living in a hole in the side of a mountain and possibly freezing to death in it when winter settled down to do its worst didn't frighten me. Somehow it seemed Somehow it seemed a friendly idea, just for all of us to fall gently asleep in a cave some night and not ever wake up again, to be delivered from all the meanness and worry in life, forever safe. The room in which I lay was very dark and by the minute turning colder. A strong wind had come up and was galing down the valley in great bitter blasts. One of my brood made a sound in his sleep, and I went from my bed for a look, and after that, from the rest of the night, I didn't get warm again. The false spring had gone. About 5 o'clock the next morning, the storm had slammed into us with all its blizzardous fury.